of developing this course, it actually has a very long history. Of course, people have talked about this type of thing for a long time. But way back in 1984, the University of Colorado decided that they wanted to have a course that would be for general education students, non-STEM majors essentially, that would teach them mathematics that was important to their college careers and life, that hadn't already likely been covered in other courses and wouldn't just be traditional algebra, calculus type track. I got brought in 1988 to teach this course, to start the course, teach it for the first time. Bill joined in shortly after, and that really is the goal, is find the mathematics that's important to your college careers and life that you haven't learned previously, and that's going to make a big difference in your life.
I'll just add to that from the perspective of a mathematics department. Jeff is a scientist. I should say a former mathematician, actually. But the requirement that Jeff is talking about was implemented in a lot of campuses around the country. It came under various names, but its core curriculum was one of the names. And so I saw the response of a mathematics department to this requirement. And the response of many mathematics departments, not just my own, was, well, we don't want to put too much work into this course. Let's just let the liberal arts students take an algebra course. And so we did that for a few years. And of course, it was totally disastrous. Nobody enjoyed teaching the course. The students certainly didn't enjoy taking the course. And so I think I realized the same need that Jeff did, was that, this is a reasonable requirement. It's going to be around for a while. So why not make a course that's specifically designed for liberal arts students, or today we would call them non-STEM students, I guess. And so while Jeff was working on the Boulder campus, I was developing materials on the Denver campus. And the great thing is that nobody wanted to teach the course. Certainly nobody wanted to develop the course. So, I gladly volunteered, and I sort of had it all to myself. I could do pretty much whatever I wanted to do. So that's how it all started, kind of simultaneously, 25 miles apart.
And this was the kind of thing that, as Bill said, I think everybody recognized the need for this type of thing, no matter where they were. But it, there had to get started somewhere, and we were fortunate to be in the places where it was starting up. But it really has spread around the country now, as people realize, just doing algebra is not going to be the thing that will help these students who are on the non-STEM track for the purposes they need for college careers in life. And so we've tried to make something that really will work for them. We look at everything we include in the course and in the textbook, and we always ask ourselves, is this actually important for what the typical student is going to be doing for the rest of their lives? So in terms of how the content of our textbook and of the course evolves over time, I think there's sort of two parts to that. One is, what is it that you need to know for college careers and life, the basic ideas. And that probably, some of that changes over time, right? The importance of evaluating media information is much greater now than, and in different ways than it was 30 years ago. But a lot of the general skills and ideas stay the same. I think what's really different is that we focus on what we call a context-driven approach. And the idea is that when students are trying to learn something like this quantitative reasoning material, particularly because most of these students have either some sort of fear or loathing of mathematics when they come in, and we have to overcome that, it's very important not to teach in an abstract way. And oftentimes mathematics is taught with, here's the abstractions, and now we'll do examples. What we want to do is turn that around. Start with the concrete, the context, and then use that to move to the more general ideas. And that means that this course and this textbook is driven by current events and things that will be meaningful to students. So with every edition, we have to rewrite vast parts of the book just to update the content, the examples, the applications, the activities to be things that reflect what's going to be meaningful to today's students.
the actual collection of topics and materials that we cover is pretty much the same, because I think we both saw the same need at the beginning, and it hasn't changed that much. Now, that's just the general topic areas. Within those topics, as Jeff said, there's just massive updating. Jeff does a really great job of updating all of the IRS tax regulations, because they change certainly every 3 to 4 years. So it's mainly just a matter of keeping the material current and fresh.
There's general agreement everywhere on what constitutes quantitative reasoning. And I think that's why the basic table of contents can stay fairly stable. But within it, there's huge changes. And just to give you one very simple example, the logic and critical thinking portion of the course, right, which you need in order to do any kind of problem solving, that's a place where, particularly when you think of critical thinking, the media information has become so much more important. So we've gradually put more and more emphasis on that. How do you look out at the web and see what's meaningful? How do you evaluate data coming in about COVID and know what's meaningful, what you should believe, what you have to think deeper about, and what you can assume is not correct? The most exciting element in working on the new edition, that's a great question. It's always really fun for us to work on a new edition, because since everything does have to be up to date, we have to find new examples that are relevant and meaningful. We get to learn a ton as we're working on this. We're spending a lot of time searching out articles, reading, doing all this in order to come up with what we think are going to be the best examples, the best activities for students going forward. So for us, the excitement is just the fun of learning all this stuff for ourselves in order to present it to students and distill it for students into a form where, to take COVID, for example, this is obviously a huge impact on students' lives. On the other hand, you don't want to overwhelm them with just COVID, COVID, COVID. So how do you distill out of this massive pandemic that's had this enormous impact on everyone's lives? How do you distill that down to a few well-placed examples and applications that will keep students engaged when they get to them, but not overwhelm them with this is the only important thing, because it's not, right? There's lots and lots of stuff. Every chapter opens with an activity. And in the last couple of editions, the opening activity in the first chapter had been about the housing bubble and the financial crisis of 2008. Well, that's now receded a bit, and it's COVID that's been the big issue. So now the opening activity to try to motivate students for why this mathematics means a lot to them is just to understand a little bit of the basic ideas behind what's the spread of a pandemic, right? You can use this very simple tree exponential growth model. What does it mean to have these various requirements to stop the spread, and so on. In fact, in that first activity, we go through with our questions and explain to students not only to think about the question, but we also tell them where in the rest of the book these kinds of ideas will be covered in depth to help them understand it.